Well, hi everyone. We've been in a series called Pointers to Jesus, and today is number 10, and it's the last in this series. This also is devotional number 72. These midweek devotionals started when the pandemic began. And this week's devotional looks at Job. You know, the book of Job addresses the issue of innocent suffering. So I'm going to read some verses from Job chapter 1. Verses 8 to 10 say, "Then the Lord said to Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil.' 'Does Job fear God for nothing?' Satan replied. 'Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands.' Verse 11 and 12 say, 'But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face.' The Lord said to Satan, 'Very well, then. Everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger.' Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord." And then in verses 20 to 22, after this happened, it says, "At this, Job got up and tore his robe, shaved his head, and then fell to the ground in worship, and said, 'Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised.' And all this Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing." We see it was Satan's idea to cause Job's suffering. Yet we see God is in complete control. God allows some things, but not others. You see the tension? God put a limit on evil. If God did not set limits, things in our world would be far worse than they are. But God is overcoming evil, and God has a purpose for it. What is Satan's purpose? Satan's purpose is to try to expose Job by harming him, hoping that he'll turn on God. One of God's purposes is to show us what is a servant. You know, if you're serving God for the comforts of life, then you're not really serving God. You're doing it to serve yourself. Satan wants to destroy the servant. God wants to raise up the servant. We also learn that evil does not come into people's lives simply because of a lack of morality. That's oversimplistic. It's more complicated than that. Job was very upstanding and moral. We see Job being such a good servant that it attracts evil to attack him. And when this happens, we see that Job grieves. You know, Job is allowed to feel his feelings. He tears his clothes, but it says in all this, Job did not sin. Job has tears, but he also has truth. And Job's truth is this. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Job loses all of his wealth, all of his children, and his health. What would you say? Would you say, what's the use of living? Think about it. This is going to happen anyway. One day we'll die, and we are going to lose all our possessions and our family because we will leave this world naked. We must hold on to this truth. Through the book of Job, Job does question God extensively. And at the end of the book, starting in chapter 38, God speaks. But God does not give him answers, but rather questions. You know, we think we know. Sometimes we believe there is no good reason for whatever we're suffering, but the truth is we really don't know. Even though Job does question God, he repents. And God's good with that. Now, how could Job accuse God of wrongdoing, yet God does not accuse Job with wrongdoing? You know, when we see Jesus suffering for you and me, that is the answer to your questions. The question God does answer is, yes, I do take suffering seriously. In fact, I take suffering so seriously that I sent my son in the middle of it. You see, Job points us to Jesus. Jesus is the true suffering servant. Jesus is the ultimate servant. There's no one on earth like him. He's blameless and upright. Job points us to Jesus. Jesus is the true innocent sufferer. Jesus was sinless. He never did anything wrong. And yet Jesus was struck down. He became poor, had no place to lay his head. See, Jesus did no wrong, was without sin, and yet Jesus suffered like no other. God took the punishment we deserved. Jesus came to be charged with sin and condemned to die, Jesus suffered what we deserved. Jesus was betrayed, and through that, death was defeated. See, Jesus is with us in the midst of our suffering, and he loves us in our suffering. In the end, Job is restored. And through Jesus, we will be restored. Not because we deserve it, but because of the resurrection of Jesus, to restore us from death and to restore all that has been lost.